Hey everybody, this is Andy Bennett with the CSS News Civil War Interpretive Center. In this video, I'm going to talk about some food preservation techniques, and what we're talking about is fermentation of vegetables. You're probably familiar with sauerkraut, fermented cabbage. Before we get into some recipes you can do at home, I'll quickly talk about how the science behind how this works. Bacteria that make food go bad do not like certain conditions. Just like every living creature on planet Earth, they have specific conditions they thrive in. In food preservation, we want to create a hostile environment for those bacteria. They do not like overly salty conditions, overly sweet conditions, and overly acidic conditions. And they also need oxygen to thrive. There's only a handful of bad bacteria out there that thrive in a low oxygen environment or an anaerobic environment. One of those is botulism. So typically, bad bacteria, if we take away the oxygen, we make a really salty, a really acid environment, we can preserve our food, right? In sauerkraut, what we're doing is all vegetables have lactobacteria in them. This bacteria is good. It helps break down the vegetables. It doesn't harm us. It helps us digest some of these vegetables. We're going to use that to create one of those hostile environments. What we're going to do is we're going to use cabbage. You can use red or green, whatever you prefer. What we're going to do is you're going to layer cabbage, salt, cabbage, salt, cabbage, salt. Whenever we're working with food, we want to make sure our containers that we start off with have been sterilized, our hands are sanitized. But what we're doing is layers of cabbage, layers of salt. The salt, we're going to use uniodized. We're going to use kosher or sea salt. We don't want the iodine in there to put us any off colors or off taste. We're going to layer that in there. We're going to cover it up. We're going to let it out at room temperature and let it weep. Let the salt start drawing out the water in there. After a couple hours, what we're going to do is we're going to come back and top that off to the top with water. It needs the cabbage or collards or whatever vegetable you need to stay underneath the water. It needs to stay in that anaerobic low oxygen environment. Anything that pops up above that, bad bacteria can start landing on, growing on, and make us sick. So we want to throw out anything that floats to the top. We keep it underneath the water. You want it to stay out 7 to 14 days. 3 to 4 days is fine to start that process. You're going to start to see some bubbling, some white foam maybe at the top. You want to scoop that off if you can. You're going to have some gassy smells, but it's going to smell like cabbage. It's going to smell like collard greens. If it starts to smell rotten smelling, then something wrong has went on, and you want to throw that out, right? But basically, you'll have a salty brine liquid in there. The lactobacteria is going to start breaking down the sugars in your vegetables and produce lactic acid. So if it's solid, we're having an acid environment. As long as it stays underneath the water, we'll be fine. And when you're laying your cabbage or vegetables with salt, any kind of flavorings you're going to want in it, that's the time to add them. If you're going to make a traditional sauerkraut, it's going to be caraway seeds. If you're going to make something else, like maybe a kimchi styled thing, you're going to want to add your different spices and flavorings there. Kimchi typically has fish paste in it. That's why it has a bad smell, as people say. You can make one with sriracha sauce, just sriracha sauce, red bell pepper flakes, things like that. This is up to your imagination. You can this is pickling. You can do anything you want to do with it. With the kids at home, if you want to try it in a small batch, what you're going to need is 3 tablespoons of salt, about 3 pounds of cabbage cut up fine. If you have quart jars, use quart jars, because that's what the 3 tablespoons for quart of water is what you're going to shoot for. If you get empty spaghetti sauce, Classico brand, not that Costco's paying me anything, but they come in Atlas mason jars that are safe to do canning stuff in. So that's a good jar to use to make this recipe at home. 3 tablespoons of salt, water to cover, about 3 pounds of cabbage, do a quart jar, whatever flavorings you want to add into it. You can do this pretty much with any vegetable. We're familiar with pickled cucumbers, cabbage and sauerkraut and kimchi's, collard kraut. But you can do different vegetables. You can also mix vegetables. Sometimes I put onion in my cabbage, white onion sliced, cabbage, salt, and that's it. For fun, if you want to use red cabbage and red onions for that, something fun for the kids to do. Just remember, with food preservation, start off with clean implements, start off with clean sanitation to keep any bad bacteria from being introduced in any foodborne illnesses. After a week or 2 weeks, you're probably going to want to refrigerate it. It is okay once it's sealed up, it will stay out. And with any of these recipes, with these food preservation techniques, these further videos, caution, you do at your own risk. Hope to see you in the next video. We talk about a different topic.